Hey everyone, welcome back with Bean O'Mac. Today we're going to continue our playthrough of WWE Smackdown vs. Raw 2006. And now this is going to be, I was going to go straight to the Raw storyline, but you know what, I decided I'm going to do the Smackdown challenges first. Because, they actually took a lot longer than I thought. I thought the Smackdown ones would maybe take me an hour and a half or whatever. And the Legend ones would take me about 3 hours or something like that, but obviously that's not the case, as you can see from the length of this video. We're starting off here with a Fulfill Your Fantasy, and I figured, you know what, it's a good change of pace, before we get into the season mode on Raw, to, just, I don't know, I guess pacing of the series or something like that. I don't know, I just wanted to kind of get some of these things out of the way first. And then, after the Raw storyline, I'm probably going to do the Legends challenges and stuff like that. And our first match is one of the most ridiculous matches of all time in the WWE games. To Fulfill Your Fantasy, as you can see, you have to be Stacy Keibler and beat Trish in a Fulfill Your Fantasy match. Very straightforward. Superstar challenges, you have to do them on at least hard mode. And all you got to do is just hit, your opponent with freaking pillows, and you get a big boost when you do spankings and stuff like that. So pretty easy, no issues whatsoever. And they put so much stock into that freaking Fulfill Your Fantasy match. Like, all the divas have 3 outfits specifically for that match. I think we've seen the maid, the schoolgirl, and I think the last outfit is a nurse. And every single girl in the game has like 3 outfits like that. And it's like, really, dude? Like, I think it's better than the freaking Raw and Panties match, just because, like, they put so much into it that it's actually kind of, like, funny. But that said, I mean, like, come on. Like, this is when the Diva era matches kind of really got out of control. But who knows? Maybe it was around this time that WWE made them add those weird match types or whatever. But next we have the WrestleMania 21 rematch. We're playing as Kurt Angle, and we got to take out HBK. And it was always so weird to me, because I'm pretty sure HBK debuted that his modern Ruthless Aggression era attire at this event, or nearby it, or around that time, and they still have his classic early Attitude Era attire on. Yeah, so it's kind of interesting to me. Would have been nice if you could have just had like a choice of those attires, but all the attire choices went to the freaking Fulfill Your Fantasy match. So what are you gonna do? But this is also a masterpiece match. This is actually the build up to this feud, was where we got the freaking sexy Kurt stuff. I think it was one of the first brand split, inter-brand, whatever you would want to call it, Smackdown versus Raw matches on the WrestleMania card. Because, Shawn Michaels was on Raw, Kurt Angle was on Smackdown. And an interesting little trivia as well is Shawn Michaels was only ever on the Raw brand. And I think, for the majority of people, they kind of like switch back and forth with the brands. If you had any longevity in the WWE though, and you were a star though, you were on both brands at one point, but not Shawn Michaels. So that's just an interesting fact. I actually learned that in a WWE magazine. Like, I think it was after HBK retired, they gave like a fun fact thing. Does anybody remember WWE Kids magazines? I remember those were awesome. My school library had like every an issue every few months that they bought and stuff like that. And I remember, I was always, I would pretend that I was reading real books, but I do that old classic trick where you put like the book you really want to read, inside the book that you're pretending to read and stuff like that. It was my history book, so it was big. I was able to hide the WWE magazine inside of it, and that was pretty much what I did. I would just read the same magazine over and over again at some points. But I remember I used to love, before I ever had a job, and I was still keeping up with WWE, I was still always trying to go to, at my local store, it was like Kinney Drugs. I don't know if that's like I don't think that's a big, that was kind of more like more of a up north thing, I think. I don't know how far Kinney Drugs goes, but it's a pharmacy, you know, slash, I wouldn't say gas station, but, you know, like you had stuff like some basic things, you know, it's essentially like a better dollar store when you think about it. But they always had the WWE magazines when they came out, and I remember buying the last edition of WWE magazine with the shield on it, and I lost it somewhere along the line, so that sucks. But I just remember seeing when that happened, like, you know, I was still, when I grew up, like, I wasn't poor in the sense I couldn't have, like, power or food. My parents took care of me very well. They feel bad for it, but the fact is, you know, they took very well, you know, very good care of me in that sense. But that said, we didn't always have the newest things, the consoles or whatever. You know, I was still the guy in 2017 or something like that still had, like, you know, basic, not basic, but, you know, like cable or whatever. And, you know, buying a pay-per-view, you know, well, actually, no, this was after the network era, but, you know, like, we didn't have the network, we didn't have streaming services, we just had to, like, you know, the old box TVs and stuff like that from, like, the 90s and all that sort of stuff. You know, I think I got the Xbox 360, you know, almost like a few years after the frickin', or a few years, no, I got that in 2011, so I actually got the 360, like, you know, 2 years, I think, before the next set of consoles would come out. So I was always behind the curve, is what I'm trying to say, you know, rather than ahead of it. So, you know, losing the option to get those WWE magazines, man, that was heartbreaking. I just didn't understand. I'm like, what? How can these not be selling right? And honestly, you know, the internet and the online wrestling community, they were pretty well established at that point, so. That's why I was, you know, that's why, you know, it probably went out of business and stuff like that, you know, magazines at that point. The only time I've ever seen magazines now is in stores is like those same terrible tabloid magazines. Like, it'll be, you know, some stupid pictures of celebrities, like, you know, I don't know, like, let's say Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith or whatever, and it'll just have, like, some stupid quote, like, Jada cheated on me with my brother's husband or something stupid like that. You guys know how those tabloid things are. They're just stupid. I'm surprised they're even still. Of all the magazines that actually did survive, those are the ones. Especially, you know, you think they would have, I think they'd be a lot, but, you know, you think they would have been the ones that went first is what I'm trying to say. I can't even gather my thoughts here. Because, you know, they have all those internet ads and all the articles are like that. You know, every single internet ad and article at this point really is just an ad for something, or you can't even read the news anymore, which, you know, at this point is only like a few paragraphs. But now we're at WrestleMania 20 rematch. We got Chris Benoit, you know, reenacting his match against Triple H and HBK Shawn Michaels. This is going to be a tough one. I don't know if I can do the crippler crossface. I mean, you guys have already seen I am not good at submissions in this game. My hands, it's not like my hands hurt or anything like that. They're just apparently not good enough or fast enough to be able to hit the buttons in time. Or, you know, button mash fast enough or whatever. I used to be good at it, but I don't know. Maybe I'm misremembering because I can't do it anymore.
All right, time to see what kind of toys we got under the ring.
But a little hack here is that you can always, to make the challenges a little easier, is that you can, you know, how these work even when you do direct challenges, I found out pretty quickly, was that when you set the rule set in the options menu, that's how it is for the challenges as well. So I turned off entrances, of course, as you can see. I made DQ off and turned off count out. So that way you can kind of make it a little easier on yourself. But like I said, this is only hard difficulty. I haven't even played on Legend yet. But I always thought the challenges, you know, added a pretty interesting element to the games. It always felt like they were half-baked, though. I don't know. Like, I don't know what they could have really done to make it feel more special, but I feel like, I don't know. It just felt like they were always kind of like an afterthought. I also neglected to do the amateur and the, I forget what they're even calling this game. It's like Rising Star or something like that, because they're just like lame exhibition things. They had the same thing in the original SmackDown versus Raw, where, which was arguably way worse with the challenges, because you had to like go into the menu on like a separate menu or something like that, see what the challenge you had to do was, and then go and do it in an exhibition match. Where, you know, I'm glad they had it in this game in SmackDown vs. Raw 2007, where you can just do the direct challenges. And all you ever really unlocked, I think, was just like the Evolution. Everybody in Evolution had like a suit or something you can unlock.
He dodged that bullet. Man, what a chair shot. Reminds me of my old EC.
But I figured I'd just skip those because it's just basic things. You'll even see me like complete some of the challenges here, like right there, break 4 weapons, amateur challenge. You know, reverse 10 strikes, reverse 10 grapples, you know, steal a finisher, steal a taunt, basic stuff like that. So it's easy, and you can do as many as you want in a single match. But they're just kind of like, there's not really anything interesting surrounding them. So I just figured I would do the superstar challenges. And like I said, I'll probably do the legend challenges after I do the, you know, Raw storyline. I don't know who I'm going to play as. I kind of want to play as Chris Masters, but if I can't figure out how to get this freaking, you know, submission thing to work and be able to actually, yeah, like right here, I should be winning, but I, for the life of me, am fighting for my life. And I cannot freaking get this dude to tap. Trust me, man, I'm pressing every single button. R1, R2, L1, L2, square, X, triangle, circle, the freaking D-pads. I'm mashing them all as fast as I can, and I cannot do it. So I'm going to have to try and figure out some way to freaking... Yeah, I'm probably not going to be able to play as Chris Masters just because I cannot figure out the submission system in this game. And I know people have said, you know, oh, well, you can just turn it down through using the AI settings in the menu or whatever. Yep. Well, here's the thing about that, though. I did. I put it all the way down. And they are still not allowing me to get anywhere near, you know... I'm not getting anywhere close to a freaking tap out. It's ridiculous. Like I said, I used to be able to do it, so, I mean, maybe they, like, nerfed it in 2007, and that's what I'm thinking of, but I don't know. I'm going to have to figure out something on how I'm going to be able to take this, take these guys out. Because Benoit is probably the worst choice when it comes to, you know, a match of this caliber. Triple threats.
You know, the key to winning a match like this is to build some momentum. And you're not going to see a match won with just 1 or 2 moves. No, but 1 or 2 big moves.
See, I can kind of break even a little bit, but I'm not really moving it anymore either.
Nice quick counter.
Uh-oh. Also, can we just appreciate the, something I also loved about the brand split this time is not only did the shows look different, but even the presentation. Like, look at the referee here. You know, blue shirt. I thought those were always so cool. Alright. Well, oh, no. Damn it, I was so close. I was ready to put my life on the line to get that submission. No, I'm not trying to hit the damn referee. Oh, that was pretty sick. But yeah, the referees, you know, they had the SmackDown ones had the blue referee shirts, and ECW later on they would have like the black shirts. I love that, you know, they actually really put everything they could into, you know, differentiating things, and it's amazing because now, especially like in the I think they just call it the new era or whatever, like back in the day, they were hell-bent on making everything so similar. Actually, the PG era is when it really started, where they want, you know, they had the HD sets. So at that point, they said, all right, well, every set looks the same, so let's have all the same referees. Let's not change the rope colors. Let's make all the rope events at the rope colors, you know, white, just because it was simple and all this other stuff. Come on, really? That's ridiculous. Rope break. Yeah, you can also turn off rope. Oh my god, I'm not trying to go after the ref. Rope break. Yeah, I forgot to turn that off. That makes it easier too. I probably could, you know, do these matches easy peasy, lemon squeezy, you know, beat them all without any of these special rule sets, but at the same time, I don't feel like going through the rage and frustration of that either. If I'm just being 100% honest with you.
True enough, Taz. There's no off season for them. There's no month. Wow, great reversal.
Because as you can see, I'm pretty much at the point where I've been trying to put these guys away for like the last 5 minutes of this match. Oh my god, how is the ref always in the damn way?
As long as it wins matches, it's going to keep happening.
Oh, I didn't even notice he had that arm in. Yes. Oh, of course, I hit him. So what are you going to do? You're going to get directly in my face so that way I accidentally do it again. Real smart, jackass. Jeez Louise. Yeah, I didn't even notice he had that armband on him. I don't know if that's specific to that referee or if that was like a SmackDown tradition thing they did or what. Come on. What? Oh, come on. And of course, I got the stamina I got to contend with as well. They got some pretty cool tag team moves in this game. I'll give them credit for that. I have to check. I wonder if they still have like the freaking Too Cool tag team things in the corner like they used to back in like SmackDown 2. If you remember, like they had the thing where they would tag and they would do like the wave with, like they'd be on each side of their opponent grabbing an arm and they'd just make the opponent do the wave with them before they both just like turned and punched them in the face. It was hilarious. I think they still have like the one where like it's so weird. It doesn't even make any sense. I think it actually hurts you, but it's like hilarious. Where like you tag in and the person goes to throw. You throw with the person in the corner, but the person reverses it, and then the other person throws the other dude into you. And of course, you know, since you're both in the corner, the one guy who was thrown into you falls down on his back, and then you just kind of slowly drop out of the corner and onto his balls, you know, head first. And I'm trying to steal a finisher. Oh, of course. Stupid Shawn Michaels and your sexy boy. Alright. Come on, I think I got this. Come on, hurry up. Please, please, please! No! No! Oh. Alright, come on. No, don't tell me it's a rope break, please. No, it's a rope break. Got stupid punching combination. Did Shawn Michaels ever even do that? Because I've seen the Bastions use that same like punching combination too. I don't remember Shawn Michaels ever doing anything that goofy. Of course, now I'm getting my ass kicked. I love how he's just not even arguing at him anymore. He's just yelling at the air. Alright, we can't let this happen. Thought it was going to be way worse. Alright, maybe I can get a quick pin. Come on, please. Pin! Pin! Huh? Stupid toothless aggression. Yeah, that's not surprising. That's funny how that happened. But yeah, I don't know. To finish off my rant before, you know, things got crazy again, yeah, it's kind of sucks that, like, the PG era of all things was all about, you know, removing the individuality of everything, whether it's the pay-per-view arenas and stats or, you know, the brands and stuff like that and all that sort of stuff. You know, everybody was kind of going back and forth on not SmackDown, but Raw. Like, it didn't matter. If you were a SmackDown guy, you know, chances are you would just kind of go on Raw. Especially if you were a big deal. But that's one of the things why I think the original brand split was just so awesome. They definitely had things, too, where, like, it was like, okay, come on, they're supposed to be on separate brands. Why is this happening all the time and stuff like that? But there was a lot of times, too, when they did build up to it.
This capacity crowd is certainly... Wow, look at that submission. I ain't never seen it executed better.
I wish they sold, like... I'm a big Mattel guy and stuff like that, as far, you know, action figures and stuff like that. But referees, they don't really have deals and stuff like that. And they actually, for like the first time in a long time, not even a... I don't think they had an Earl Hebner action figure. Come on, please. Yes! Alright, challenge completed. It only took me 12.5 minutes. But, yeah, they recently came out with 2 referee action figures for like the first time in a long time, and like actual official referees. I wasn't able to get it because the referee version of Teddy Long, right? Because if you know, people are just kind of jerks when it comes to that stuff. They know people like the action figures, so what they'll do is like, what the hell? Is they'll do the thing at Walmart because their Walmart exclusive are these Attitude Era things. And it'll be like 4 packs, and if you get all 4, you get to build a figure, right? But Walmart is the worst distributor of action figures I've ever seen, because, you know, part of it I know is not really their fault. People, as soon as they come in, they'll just go, and, you know, people will just buy them up, and so they can scalp them and stuff like that. But at the same time, if they're that popular, I mean, have people... You know, have a little bit more, have some more waves, and I don't know, like, it's not just like, I've gone to, you know, I've lived in a few different places in the last few years, you know, I've lived in New York, Tennessee, West Virginia, you know, I've been to quite a few different parts of the country and stuff like that, and, you know, it's the same story at every single Walmart in the area. It doesn't matter if it's the big city. I was in Nashville, nothing there. It doesn't matter if it was, you know, a small city in New York. Nothing there. Doesn't matter if it's a small city in West Virginia. Nothing there. Doesn't matter if it's a big city. You know, the only one they have really in West Virginia is Charleston. Nothing there. Doesn't matter if it's in frickin' North Carolina, which, you know, was a decent-sized city I was in. Nothing there. Doesn't matter if it was in Georgia. I can tell you for a fact, there's nothing there. So I got like a few things, like I think I need like a freaking fake Diesel action figure to get the freaking arms I need or something like that for the Teddy Long figure. I don't know, it's been a while. But they have that, which is cool. And then they have a SummerSlam thing, and it's cool. That's why I hate the Walmart exclusivity thing, because you can't buy it online, because once again, people scalp it off of that. But if it was something like ringside collectibles, you know, I know for a fact if it was something like that, I would be able to pre-order it, and it would be no questions asked. There wouldn't have to be that nonsense with people scalping it, because they would... I think they kind of like make it like we're on that side. It's like, oh, we have all this pre-orders. All right, we're going to make some extra, you know... It's actual preparation rather than we're going to make a finite amount for Walmart, and if people pre-order off them, well, that's too bad. We're just going to send a few shipments to the store, and that's all she wrote. And it sucks because the Walmart ones actually have like the best series. You know, the Walmart had the Ruthless Aggression Era series I loved. And it seemed like Mattel hated it for some reason. They're like, yeah, we don't have people to actually do this. And it's like, what are you talking about, man? Like, you had Carlito, JBL, John Cena, Batista, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, you know, Brock Lesnar, The Undertaker, Stone Cold, Eric Bledsoe. They had all these guys, but it was clear as day that I think Mattel, they wanted the guys who actually like are in charge of making the figures. You can watch like, you know, Ringside Collectible Fest, or, you know, the Comic-Cons, and you can see, you know, it's like 2 fans, like the Bill McKenna guy, and I forget the other guy. I think it's Steve. they're both bald guys, and they're pretty cool guys from the looks of it and stuff like that, you know. But it seems like they were more interested in the Attitude Era stuff, and I can understand what they mean too. But I mean, like, they also were releasing like Ruthless Aggression Era figures in the main line, like Umaga and the Boogeyman, but like we don't get it for that exclusive series. Like, yeah, I think it was a little bit of nonsense. But either way, it's the same thing with that Best of Attitude Era series, and you know that they got running now. No, you can't. They didn't even have like buildable figures, but you still, you know, all it was 3 people in a wave, I think, maybe 4, and they just couldn't get people to freaking, you know, you couldn't see them in the stores. And it's not like with Target and stuff like that. You know, they have the cool Legends line, and for the most part, you go there. I mean, that's awesome because usually they have what you want in stock, and if not, well, you can go on the website and chances are it's there. Not always. That's also a tough series to get at times, but it's possible if you're actually on things, right? But with the Walmart series, like, you have to be watching that stuff every single, you know, day to see like, hey, is this gonna come in? Nope. All right. Well, next day, oh, it's not in. Oh, not in. Well, I think I'll skip a day since it's not in. Oh, I skipped a day. Well, now I can't pre-order these. So that was a big frustration on why I stopped figure collecting so much. I do like the Walmart exclusive vehicles though. Like they have the Rey Mysterio Lowrider one thing there, so that's pretty cool. But I got a lot of Elite figures too that I don't really even have room to display them or whatever. But yeah, I kind of stopped collecting them. I kind of touched on this in an earlier video. Ooh, I actually got the pin. But I touched on this in an earlier video, right? I used to collect basic figures, right? Because they were at the time they remind me of the Ruthless Aggression Era figures from like Jax from back in the day, and I like those better than the Deluxe Aggression figures because the Deluxe Aggression figures always looked weird with the way that they were put together. Like, yeah, more articulation, but they look weird, you know. But they did have really cool belts that came with them. But so then I got those when I was a kid collecting them because they went well with my Ruthless Aggression Era figures, and that was terrible. But yeah, so I did that, and like, you know, I loved them because, you know, yes, I just buy them for display purposes, right? Even at, you know, at the time when I was a kid, I used to play with them and stuff like that. And I don't know, even when I started collecting them again when I first got my job, I actually started playing them too. I know the 1%, the 0.1% of or I guess it would be 0.000000001% of the women watching in the audience are reacting with absolute disgust at that comment. What? 17 years old and you play with action figures? Loser. But anyway, you know, like with the basic figures, I liked them because they were displayed better, right? And I could just put the Elite clothing on them, and or, you know, accessories or whatever. And I liked how they didn't have like all the creases in them, you know, that you had to put on a figure to have articulation. I didn't care if I could move their abs back and forth. I didn't care if you know, I could freaking move their toe or move their boots to the side or whatever, because they were just well built. You know, they could just stand up on their own and stuff like that. And I used to kind of edit them a little bit, you know, like I put one of my Stone Cold figures, I cut like separated like the middle fingers, and I super glued them so that way he's giving the middle finger, stuff like that. Turned out pretty awful. But you know, that was kind of my jam, right? And for the longest time I did edit a lot of figures, and I've also mentioned they do not look good at all. Like, I have some Hardy Boy ones that came out pretty good, I think. But other than that, you know, for the most part, I was terrible at actually piecing them back together. You know, there's like gaps between, you know, their heads and necks and like stuff like that. You know, it's not perfect, but I still like them because, you know, it was fun to do at least. So then they changed the basic figures, and I think like around maybe 2018 or something like that. Around that time. And the whole thing was they were just trying to say, oh, well, we just changed it so, you know, the articulation's still there, but you know, it's just in the elbow joints now instead of, you know, at the, you know, the bicep and the shoulder or whatever that they used to have. I'm sure people who you know, don't collect action figures or care about them are like, what the hell is this guy going on about now? But for those who know, you know. But what in actuality, that's the only thing they ever talked about. But in actuality, they made them significantly cheaper, and what they wanted to do was they wanted to make elites. You know, they wanted to put more budget into the elites to make them better with more accessories and detail and stuff like that, and I'm cool with that. But they kind of lied about it because it wasn't just the articulation in the arms. They also made the designs were, you know, you could argue they were used to be on par with like the head models and, you know, the detail and stuff like that. They were kind of on par almost with the elites. But then you started to notice, you know, like, you'd have like these terrible, awful, goofy-looking Stone Cold or figures and stuff like that because the faces looked horrible. The hair was considerably less detailed and like looked terrible. It's like you'd have to actually just look up the actual figures to understand what I'm talking about. Like look at a Triple H basic figure from 2010 and then look at a Triple H basic figure from, you know, now with the long hair or something like that. You'll notice a big difference with like how the hair looks, the face looks and stuff like that. And on top of that, then they had it to where like the knees were different to where they were cheaper. So then they also had it where like the boots, they didn't have any sort of articulation in the boots. They were just one solid figure. But you know what? At the end of the day, that wasn't the biggest deal. But it was clear as day that they lied about it, and it was easy to see why they did it. But it's just kind of like, you know, I think at that point they were like, you know what? It was a smart business decision. I'm giving them all the credit in the world for figuring it out. You know, kids will buy the basics for the cheaper price, no questions asked. You know, they don't care about the detail, and they're not like fickle like the freaking adult collectors. They're like complaining about like slight scratches and, you know, saying how they got ripped off of their $20 action figure because, you know, Kane's glove or something like that has like a, you know, there's like a little scratch on it or something like that, or they got their action figure in the package or something like that and there's a tiny little crease in the corner of the thing or whatever. Which, you know, I get it, especially in the economy we're in now. Figure collecting is an expensive hobby. I think it was around its worst like a few years ago with COVID, and even after that fact, it still hasn't really recovered, so it's tough. And I don't really know exactly how it is now because, like I said, I don't really collect them now. But, you know, I get it. I can understand why people complain, but there are also times where I look at, you know, it's like, come on, man. Like, I look at it, and it's like you're telling me you're going to complain about a small crease in something or whatever. And some people at times, I think people are just complaining about anything. But you know, there definitely are things where I understand what they mean. Well, you know, like at Ultimate Edition figures in particular too. Like I think there was an issue with the Kane figures for a bit, where like a small part of it wasn't painted correctly. And on one hand, it's like, is it really that big a deal? You can hide it. And, you know, it's just a little it's literally like a small portion of the thing, but then at the same time they are like $40 figures, so yeah, I'd want pretty much absolute perfection for that. So I'm a little mixed on that one. But what really got me to not want to collect figures anymore is they once again changed the basic figures, and I don't really know why they did this, but it was pretty recent. I think it was like a year ago where they decided, all right, well, we're now going to make the basic figures have the same legs as the elite figures, so that way, you know, you can do Shawn Michaels, Sweet Chin Music, and stuff like that. And it's like, you guys kind of, I understand it, and I think the basics were kind of not the same ever since they changed it in the first place. But over time, they slowly kind of removed the charm, in my opinion, of what the basic figures represented. They were the cheap alternative, you know, and you got a quality figure with a quality paint job. You know, they were, you know, if you got the 2-pack, you know, it was the same cost as an elite figure, but, you know, you got 2 people and you got the accessory that came with it. And once again, like I said, if you were like, oh man, I really want to have him, you know, have this freaking, you know, t-shirt or something like that, you could still buy the elite and, you know, you'd have 2 cool figures or whatever, right? And then over time, they just kind of removed all the charm of the basic figures. And most people don't care who collect action figures and stuff like that, you know. I'm probably one of the only people that has ever complained about this issue, to be honest. But it's just kind of how I feel about it. So, I mean, that's kind of why I don't collect it, because everything that I was once collecting is now different. So, I mean, every once in a while, if it's like a really cool release, you know, I was thinking about getting the Headbangers for the first time, and I was like, you know what? What's the point? You know, why? I'm just wasting money at this point. I'm just gonna look at them, you know, for 5 minutes. It's gonna be like a cool purchase, and it's like, oh man, this is worth it. And then I look at it at 5 minutes later, I'm like, why did I buy this? Because I don't have anywhere to display them anymore. So, but yeah, I mean, action figure collecting, it used to be a massive part of me and my personality and stuff like that. And I used to, even when they changed the basics at first, I used to buy the basic version of a character, buy the elite version, give them the accessories, give them the arms, and swap out the arms and the hat and stuff like that. Because they actually making them cheaper actually made them so much easier to actually remove, right? And those are some of my smoothest looking custom wrestling action figures. Is because of that. And there was less glue held onto them, whereas with the old basics, it's like, man, you kind of had to fight to get those separated at all the right points and whatnot. But it was smooth as butter when they edited the basics. But I don't know. It's like I said, it's just too different at this point. And I've also just lost my passion because, like I said, I wasn't very good at it, even in the slightest, at making custom figures. So I kind of just lost my passion for it as well. You know, I used to, you know, like I made a basic version of Viscera, Rikishi, you know, Too Cool, Sky Too Hottie was another one, stuff like that. And I kind of had to look at body molds and think to myself, okay, you know, what would make the most sense for this action figure and stuff like that. And I think I had like I made a bunch of Attitude Era and Ruthless Aggression Era versions of those characters. I have a custom Carlito one that I actually do think came out really good. I even gave him a little apple, and it was based off of his orange attire. And, you know, the paint job looks absolutely horrible, but maybe I'll actually show this stuff to you guys on the page someday if you're interested. But what the heck? He didn't jump over the freaking top rope? Are you serious? This is the Undertaker we're talking about here. But yeah, I don't know. That's kind of my whole history with the action figure stuff. I mentioned also, you know, about the sets. You know, I got like all the, you know, the sets when, not when they first came out, but I had to buy them off of eBay after, once I got my job. So I got the Hell in a Cell set. You know, I got a display with that, with Mankind and Undertaker. I got the freaking SummerSlam from 2010. And it's like a custom, not like custom in the sense like I bought it off of someone who made it their own, but like it's a weird Mattel custom one where, you know, like the ring posts and, you know, the apron and stuff are like orange for some reason, and it's like super cool. But I have like a few displays set up in that. You know, Survivor Series, Money in the Bank, TLC, a few WrestleMania rings and stuff like that. I think I have like 1 or 2 Raws, like a Raw with the red ropes, a SmackDown with the blue ropes, ECW, and that was a really cool one because they had like the weird purplish pink, like the light purple ropes, and that was cool. But that's in terrible shape. There's even freaking, I used to, when I was a kid, I used to make the wrestlers bleed after certain moves. I used to use a red marker on it that was washable, so that way, you know, and I would even dip it in like a small cup of water, like just slightly, so that way the blood was dripping and stuff like that. I used to get really into that stuff. Like I said, wrestling action figures collecting actually used to be a massive part of my identity, and to a lot of people it still is. But like, I don't have anywhere to display them. I don't buy them anymore, really. And even the sets that I do want are just so hard to find. It's like, you know, that combined with the fact that, you know, basics aren't really how they used to be is why I don't collect anymore. But I still have boxes and boxes full of them. I mean, I have like massive totes and boxes of them and stuff like that stored away in my freaking shed.
Good evening, and welcome to a sold-out show from Phoenix, Arizona.
Alright, we have the future WrestleMania match here, which they actually did predict the future. This would actually come to fruition in WrestleMania 26. That's when Batista in 2010. That was a pretty good feud. But yeah, I don't know. Batista, you know, that was kind of the end of his career and stuff like that. And it's interesting at this time, you know, just how these guys were really the future of the WWE. And I think even at the time, everybody thought that Randy Orton was going to be the guy on, you know, the other brand. It was going to be on Raw and stuff like that. That's how you even see him and John Cena in the intro of the original SmackDown versus Raw. And, you know, Batista, I think for the most part, in a lot of people's minds at the time, kind of came out of nowhere almost. But I think that's kind of the exciting part about WWE and stuff like that. He had a really good run at first on, you know, SmackDown with the World Heavyweight title. And one of my favorite segments he was involved in was that freaking segment with Simon Dean, of all people. And that's what kind of really made me like Simon Dean, because I just thought, man, this is such a great segment and it works perfect with his character and all that sort of stuff. So if you haven't watched it yet, you should at some point look up Batista and Simon Dean, because it's hilarious. And Simon Dean also had a lot of good segments. He had a good one with Stone Cold. He had a good rivalry with Bobby Lashley. He had a pretty, I think he was Boogeyman's debut match on SmackDown, and that was a pretty funny thing. It was just, the Boogeyman character was so stupid, but they actually made it to where like people were legitimately afraid of him at first. And Simon Dean and his reactions were awesome. So yeah, there's so many Simon Dean segments. The time he entered the Royal Rumble on the Segway. So I don't know. There's I always like the a lot of the freaking weird mid-card acts that people usually forget. You know, like Crash Holly, I thought was hilarious with his 24/7 run. I actually liked Steve Blackman with the hardcore title as well, because it was the opposite of Crash. You know, it was like Crash was all about, you know, he lost the title like 10 times a night, but he always exited with it somehow. But then with Steve Blackman, what they did with him was, you know, they even showed a few segments with people trying to attack him, and he would just kick like 6 or 7 dudes' asses right in a row. Obviously, you know, real low mid-card guys or whatever, or enhancement talent practically, but, you know, it was all during his tag team with Al Snow, and he was just kind of like the tough guy on it. But a lot of people look back on it, and they don't really ever have anything good to say about Steve Blackman as far as hardcore title run goes. The most people say is that, you know, he was involved in that SummerSlam match with Shane McMahon, where Shane, you know, fell off of, you know, all the way backwards and the SummerSlam stage, and I think even that he screwed up his balls somehow. I don't know how the hell that happened, whatever, but I respect Shane for, you know, putting his body on the line there. When you think about it, I mean, yeah, it wasn't as crazy as what Shane did. And I don't even think it's the craziest thing that Shane did when you really think about it. But, yeah, Steve Blackman, he climbed a few rungs down and stuff, but he still jumped right after Shane and onto the same spot before he pinned him and won and stuff like that. And he fought off, I think, TNA it was at the time, and I don't know. I thought it was a pretty entertaining run, all things considered. A lot of people also bring up Raven's run with the hardcore title more so than Steve Blackman's, which I find to be interesting in a lot of ways. But yeah, I always like, I mean, if they had released the freaking Steve Blackman action figure back in the day, I would have gotten that. They have like one for Jax and stuff like that, but I meant like Mattel specifically. I have a lot of my Jax Ruthless Aggression era action figures as well and stuff still, and I even thought about a while ago collecting those Titantron Live ones again and stuff like that, but once again, I mean, it'd just be kind of like a, oh cool, I have it, now what type of deal. So but yeah, this is the last time I'll bring up the freaking action figures things in this video, simply you know, I'm sure there's some people, as much as I love it and love talking about it and stuff like that, and you know, I know there's a lot of other wrestling fans out there that do love that, you know, collecting stuff and want to hear it. But at the same time, I just want to ask, for those of you who are interested, would you like to see me, and you're actually watching this, by the way, and you got made it this far, would you actually like to see me, show off some of my customs or some of my action figure display sets and stuff like that I do actually have up, or if you're interested, comment down below if you'd like to see that kind of stuff, or see my Ruthless Aggression era Jax figures and what I got there and stuff like that. No customs in the Jax figures, but I figured I'd just simply ask and see if anybody would want to see any. Even I wouldn't even be open to just kind of showing a few pictures of in the community post or something like that, if that's all you guys want to see. And if people start to get interested in the action figures or whatever, maybe I'll do more with it. But I'm sure there's a lot of people who are probably thinking to themselves, watching this whole Superstars playthrough of the challenge, thinking, man, come on, I don't want to hear about your freaking action figure collection for an half hour, and they rolling their eyes at it. But I figured I'd just bring it up and ask the question at this point. So maybe I'll talk more about that kind of stuff in another video, but I think I've kind of pretty much brought up everything pretty much my whole history with the action figure stuff, other than the fact that when I first started, my friends, when I got my job and stuff like that, I was just buying them by the truckload, essentially, on Ringside Collectibles, which is a great site for that still to this day. And my friends were like, come on, man, you're going to freaking go bankrupt on these freaking action figures. Aren't you trying to get laid? I'm like, nah, I'm trying to have fun here, guys. Come on. And something that is interesting about I wanted to bring up regarding this game is not the action figures, but Jax. They're the ones who made the action figures and stuff like that. But they are also the ones that apparently got WWE to make the deal with THQ to begin with, right? And I'm curious because I never knew this until I actually started playing with this game, and I did a little research on the title a little bit, because at some point I actually do want to probably do a secrets video on the SmackDown series and then the SmackDown vs. Raw series, if there's enough content that I feel people might not know, the average person doesn't know. Or maybe I'll do a facts video on it or something like that. Because my biggest fear with the secrets videos and why I kind of stopped doing it is the Aki games, there's so much details and stuff like that people just don't know. I figured out so much stuff in the Aki series just by, playing the game for those videos. And I found so many secrets I never even seen people mention or anything like that as well. And obviously, there were a lot of great comments that shared secrets and stuff like that. However, there's only one or two comments that were like, hey, dude, we already knew all this. You failed. Okay, pal, sure. All those other, thousands and thousands of people that didn't know, they must be wrong too, I guess. But I am a little worried because for some reason, despite so many people playing the games on the Aki series, I feel like nobody, I didn't even expect the secrets videos to be that big of a thing, even in the slightest. So, I was nearly crapping my pants, and I was like, what the hell? 10,000 views in a week? That's insane. And, it's just so weird. Such a beloved series, and nobody really covered this stuff, so I didn't think it was going to be a big deal, but it was awesome to see so many people, interested in that series. And my SmackDown 2 ones, they didn't do as well, but I still thought I put out quite a few secrets that people didn't know. But I think there are channels, that specialize, because I think these are the more mainstream games and around my generation, because I started playing these games along with the N64 games. So a lot of people, have more nostalgia for these games, I think, at this point as well. That was kind of a load of bullocks. But, I don't know, I just find it fascinating that there's more videos covering this stuff, like Smack Talks in particular. I think is good at it. Young Boy 11, he covers a whole bunch of secrets and deep dives into these things. So I kind of am a little hesitant to jump into the SmackDown and the SmackDown vs. Raw series, because I feel like with that information already out, I think a lot of people would already kind of be like, oh well, of course. I knew that, John Cena's pants in this game are, black or something like that. Not an actual secret, but just throwing something stupid out there, And I don't want to be, like I said, I don't want to be one of those guys that like puts out videos just because, oh well, I'll get good views on this, so I'll just half-ass it and get a whole bunch of views, and maybe I can become monetized. I could be monetized, but I don't want to because I've even seen some videos where people say, monetization isn't a big deal. It's just you gotta grind for that money and this or that. And if I wanted to do that, I'd do stupid prank videos and I'd dump paint on people's head and sexually assault women or whatever the hell they're doing at this point. Where it's just a prank, bro. Like I just want to do things that are fun. That's why I still play these games, even though like it's been done a million times on YouTube and all that sort of stuff. But I want it. I really do. So I do make mistakes at times, but that's undisputed. Unfortunately, I make quite a few mistakes in my videos, but I do try and actually do my research, and I've been trying to get a lot better at actually presenting my content in a way where it's very accurate and not just soulless crap or whatever just to get views. So so that's why like instead of doing specific games, I think I might be able to do like secret videos pertaining to like the SmackDown series in particular, or the SmackDown vs. Raw series. I just think, especially since the Aki titles, they had way more legitimate secrets, small details and Easter eggs, crazy glitches. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think down below. Would you like to see some sort of video like that? I know the secrets videos are my most popular videos by a long mile, but I also like the Aki stuff. I like being an Aki YouTuber just because of the niche, and like I said, I like coming up with ideas of videos where people of things that people haven't done with the Aki series, like rankings or top 10 things. It's just so much love in the series, but it feels like I'd love to hear more people's opinions on that stuff. I'd love to see more top 10 videos of other creators in the Aki sphere, and like mods are really awesome, and those are things that I just can't do because I'm just technically inept, to do the most basic things other than like ROM hacks or whatever. But like for example, Fun with Cause, he's doing that. He had the interview with Retro Randy Price, who was the creator of the No Mercy Plus mod, and I think that's awesome. Like I've thought about wouldn't it be cool if I did some an interview with GM Spectre, because I played a few of his mods and that was awesome and stuff like that. But then I think to myself, would they want to do that? Would they like to do something like that? Am I gonna come across as a massive mark or something like that if I do that? And I give him credit. Fun with Cause, he's a pretty great channel, and he's delivering. He's doing some innovative ideas himself out there, and that's what I like to see. I want to see a bigger community and more discussion and unique video ideas and stuff along that lines, and I love it. I'm not saying I'm inspired him or anything like that. I don't want people to think that like I'm trying to act like I'm the freaking Aki YouTuber man. I'm not anywhere close to that. Like there's definitely bigger guys in the sphere. Like even though he's not really around anymore, the Be Better Gamer was awesome, and New Legacy Inc. They play other games other than the Aki titles, but they're big and popular, and they have much bigger personalities than I ever could have, and I respect all those guys a lot. Even in a weird way, he's not really actually an Aki YouTuber, but RGT85, he did that book on the N64 wrestling games, and that's I gotta at some point check that book out, just because that seems like something that's pretty interesting. So there's a lot more innovation in the Aki sphere as of late, and cool things going on. And obviously the No Mercy beta came out a while ago, and that was pretty awesome to see. So I would like to see a bigger community, all things considered, with more discussion and stuff like that. That's why I love the N64 wrestling games Reddit, because you can post something cool, or post some matches with some awesome cause or stuff like that, and you get people talking and sharing memories and all sorts of awesome stuff. That was the weirdest like looking pin I've ever seen anybody do that RVD just did to Rey Mysterio. This one might be a little difficult though, just because RVD has the freaking frog splash, and people do not like to stay down for whatever reason.
These superstars are putting everything on the line. That submission is locked in, JR, and this is a tough hold to break. It sure is, King, and he sure is, JR.
Like I said, right there, just got up, looked at somebody else, no big deal, I guess. Yeah, see, now I'm getting my butt kicked by freaking Chris Benoit here.
Uh-oh, he's got his opponent down on the ropes. You know what that means. 619. He's sitting flying with that one.
I always love like having these multi-man matches when like you do moves like that 619 or the Rolling Thunder, because like the wrestlers have to wrestle around you while you're doing these moves. I just find that stuff to be hilarious. But, you know what? I was probably going to save it for maybe my Legends video, just because usually I try and save my, you know, my beta stuff for, you know, the last video in the series and stuff like that, after people get to see what's, you know, in what happened with all the games, what's inside all the games is what I mean to say. But you know what? I mean, it's a long video. I figured now is as good a time as any, and you know, maybe I'll brush up on it a little bit in the Legends video challenge and stuff like that as well. So, you know, I figured let's look into some beta stuff from SmackDown vs. Raw 2006. Some cool features that we, you know, may have missed out on and stuff like that. Once again, I am, you know, I've shouted them out before on my channel. I've shouted them out even around the beginning of this channel. Young Boy 11. You know, he's like, you know, he looks into all the SmackDown and SmackDown vs. Raw series and stuff, you know, the betas whenever they're released. You know, he looks into, you know, hidden characters that you can't normally play as, and, you know, all sorts of cool, you know, stuff on his channel, as well as mods, of course. And, you know, he's even making one called, I think it's like SmackDown vs. Raw Anthology, which I think is based off of SmackDown vs. Raw 2011. So they have like a whole bunch of crazy guys in that series and stuff like that. You know, I mean, I'm just kind of shooting them out there. You know, if you haven't watched them, you know, and you're interested in that kind of stuff, check them out. You know, because he really is. He does some really great work, and he's very entertaining. At least I think as well, to, you know, actually listen to when he rambles and talks about things and stuff like that, because he knows what he's talking about a lot of the time as well. And he even has like NPC tournaments that I tune into every once in a while, just fun little CPU matches and stuff like that. But you know, I even have to wonder, like, I shout out a lot of channels that I like, or like I'll share links like to, you know, the Cutting Room 4 sites and stuff like that. I'll even do it in this video as well. You know, if you want to check out the Cutting Room 4 for yourself for the beta stuff. But I have to wonder, like, I actually wonder if anybody actually, if I've ever gotten anybody to think, you know, hear something that they haven't heard from, or YouTuber they haven't seen before, and they actually check them out and ended up liking them. So if that's the case, you know, let me know down below with that as well. Sorry, guess I'm getting tired here. I can't even form complete sentences. So, but I do just imagine it'd be hilarious if, you know, like a Young Boy video, or, you know, a GM Spectre video, and they just say something like along the lines of, hey, you know, Bino Mac sent me, and they're just thinking to themselves, like, what the fuck is a Bino Mac? But anyway, so let's get into the beta content stuff and whatnot. So, let's see here. So apparently there were 15 characters that were removed from this game. So let's see here. We got Brock Lesnar, and apparently he obviously we know he left after WrestleMania 20. And I didn't know this, but apparently he was actually trying to get back into the WWE around you know, August 2005, which in my opinion, you know, yeah, it is Brock Lesnar, and I'm sure the talks were way before that. You know, and obviously that is character data and stuff like that, but like if he was going to be in this game, like I don't know, we've had some crazy things on the N64, but I think this was definitely around the time when, yeah, I believe, kind of like with the Shawn Michaels attire I was talking about earlier. It was kind of like, WrestleMania stuff, and sometimes not even that. So if it was around August that he was going to come back or whatever, I just don't see Brock Lesnar being included in this game. But apparently he does have data left on the disc, so that's why I think maybe talks were, much sooner than that. But apparently this was around the time in October of 2005, I guess he went and joined New Japan Pro Wrestling. And I did see like clips from a match he had at that time, and he had like a really weird outfit and stuff like that. But it is interesting. I didn't know that he was actually in talks with coming back to the WWE at the time. I thought it was just he did it in New Japan and that was it. But yeah, he even says here, I mean, he has data regarding the July 23rd build, so. And apparently he's even known, they called him Brock Lesnar instead of Brock, because apparently, I don't know how the language works. It's obviously, languages are much different than English, of course, and how they function. And I think in Japan, like L and R are like the same letter. I've also heard that I think it's R doesn't exist in the Japanese language, and that's why it's a lot of times like you'll get L instead of R when it comes to this stuff. One thing that always pops into my mind with that is like Resident Evil Outbreak, for example. There's like a guest list, and they reference some characters from the previous games, one of them being Dario Russo from Resident Evil 3. He's the guy that's yelling at Jill at the very beginning of the game about his daughter dying out there. And the thing with that is in a file in the English version of Resident Evil Outbreak on the guest list, his name is listed, but instead of Russo, it's Dario Lusso, I guess. So, I mean, that's an interesting thing if you didn't know about the Japanese language, I guess. Matt Hardy, of course, he was supposed to be in there, but, I mean, we all know what happened with Matt Hardy. I mean, suspended. He was released from the company. It says suspended here, but he was actually just full-on released from the company due after the whole events with him and Lita and Edge and a lot of people, there was a big backlash at the time with the internet wrestling community at the time, feeling sorry for Matt, because he was really the one who got screwed over. I think it was something like an incident, somebody popped Edge's tires, and WWE said that it was like, they thought that it was Matt Hardy who was the one who did it. So I think that's like the straw that broke the camel's back on that aspect. But then there's also the Dudley Boys, who apparently they left after ECW One Night Stand in June. And that's the kind of thing that sucks about wrestling games, is it's so easy to remove characters after a certain point. You can always remove something from the game, but adding someone, like if somebody came in at June, they're not likely to actually make it into the game, which is sad, especially nowadays for sure. Which I don't even know how it works in modern WWE games, because I think they changed the release dates now, because I haven't even heard anything about 2K25, but I think 2K24, I mean, that came out around WrestleMania time. And I think it's like a new strategy or something they're trying to do now. Because, I mean, honestly, we all know for the longest time it was released the WWE games around the holiday season, like the rest of the sports titles and whatnot. But yeah, it does suck that, these guys left in 2005. Then there's Maven, who I think is one of the I want to say infamous, but that's not really the case. I mean, he's not really infamous. He's one of the more notable models left in this game, because he actually does have a model in the beta. Once again, YoungBoy11, check him out, because he did a whole video on the beta stuff from that, Smackdown Raw 2007, I think the July build, with Maven in it, and he reactivated him and did everything, so you can see what he looks like. And yeah, I think that was kind of like, that was peak Maven in my opinion, because we didn't really get to see how good he could have been. A big part of that, he even says himself, he just wasn't putting in the effort at the time. But I think that was really the time when he actually started to look like a real professional wrestler. He was bigger. He admitted to using steroids point blank, and he said it was pretty much encouraged by the company, but it wasn't, hey, do this. It was kind of like, hey, You know, it wouldn't be a bad thing if he did it, something along those lines. Obviously, if he Maven, you know, he's become one of the bigger YouTube wrestling wrestlers on the platform at this point. You know, he has some really great content. You know, diving into some, you know, he's done interviews with people like Muhammad Hassan, and that's how I know about like his family and him living in Syracuse, and like what Muhammad Hassan has thought about his run with the WWE, and you know what went wrong and all sorts of stuff. And you know, you should check that out if you haven't. He has a great channel if you haven't somehow, you know, seen it. But he's got like over 100,000. He rose quickly. And he does come across as like a real genuine, like cool guy. You know, he even admits, you know, he's not the greatest guy and stuff like that. But I mean, he seems like a pretty cool, genuine dude, you know. And, you know, he reveals a lot of information the fans have speculated on over the last few years. He releases information of things about himself that people don't know. And it kind of sucks because there's a lot of people who are just kind of assholes, apparently. They're like, oh, well, who gives a shit what you have to say? You know, you're a mid-carder and all this other stuff. He was honestly probably less than a mid-carder when you think about it. No disrespect to him, but like it's so lame when people just say, oh, well, you weren't a star, and or just assholes. But I mean, that's any community ever. And it seems like the wrestling community are kind of just jerks in general. But it's another reason why I love the hockey community, folks. Because for the most part, I mean, I've gotten, you know, if I was probably in any other community, I'd probably get a shit ton of hate comments about how terrible I am, and I don't deserve to live because I got like one fact wrong or whatever, which has happened pretty much, but oh well. But yeah, Maven, I think he just had his luck down at this point. He turned heel, and it looked like things were going to be big for him, and he was even apparently asked to come back a few years later, but he declined it at the time. And now, you know, obviously he's not going to have a big run or anything like that. But, you know, you see his personality on YouTube, and it kind of makes you wonder, you know, I don't think he would have been a main eventer at all. Like, if we're just being honest. But that said, I mean, you know, what could have been? You know, maybe he could have been a bigger mid-card guy or whatever. Especially, like, at that time, you know, like, let's say 2008, 2009, WWE, I think it was at that time. I mean, if he came back at that time, it probably would have been either just like the fart in church thing, which more than likely is what would have happened, or it would have been something along the lines of there's not really anybody else here, so he might just get legitimately more opportunities just because, you know, like, who else is going to be the top guy? The Brian Kendrick? But anyway, so continuing on with the list, yeah, it seemed like he was all finished, and he has like a model and everything like that, and it seems like he was released in July of 2005, and that's why he was taken out. And once again, I mean, it just sucks, you know, July, August, whatever. It's so sad that they have enough time to take people out of the game but not add them. Another one is Kenzo Suzuki, who was actually in Day of Reckoning 2, which, you know, I've already played that on my channel. We've actually faced him a few times in the series, and that's an interesting, you know, certainly an interesting inclusion into the Day of Reckoning series, in my opinion, because obviously that is his only appearance and whatnot. And of all the characters, it's kind of interesting him. And, you know, unfortunately, he never really did much in the WWE, but I don't know, his wife was hot, I guess, so, yeah. Then we have Luther Reigns, and he was released in May of 2005. And I don't remember much about Luther Reigns, if I'm being 100% honest. But he was one of the other guys that did have like a, you know, he actually did have a model in the beta version of the... Oh, I'm so sorry if that like sounded like terrible on the mic, but I did not expect that to happen. That was so awesome. That RKO off the cell. This is why like the Hell in Cells in the old games were so awesome. Anyway, so yeah, Luther Reigns, you know, he was obviously a part of Team Angle with Mark Jindrak at one point. I can't remember the timeline because Luther Reigns I don't think was there for very long. But you know, he was released in says May of 2005, and he has, you know, an actual character portrait and, you know, a model, and I think he was also, you know, someone who was reactivated in the beta that you could actually check out and see. I think Maven was more complete though, because he actually had like his full entrance, and I think he may have even had his theme, if I can remember correctly. I know a lot of people hate Mercy Drive, like Randy Orton's "Hey," you know, Burning My Light song and Maven's Tattoo song. I actually liked that band a lot, and I like both songs. Oh, jeez. Man, this Hell in a Cell is full of surprises. I've never seen that happen before. Look at Randy Orton acting like he's been acting like an idiot all match. But yeah, I don't know. I actually, especially in hindsight, now that I do like Maven, I actually kind of wish he was in the game. Which I'm sure you can tell because I haven't been able to shut up about him for like the last 10 minutes. But I also don't think he ever got like his fair due when it came to like being in a WWE game. Like I feel like he's one of the guys who was there for years, and you know, admittedly he had minimal storyline involvement, but he even had like the stuff with Evolution at one point. And I think it was actually around this time when he actually kind of had his little revival, because he was in Shut Your Mouth, and for some reason he didn't have his theme. But I think he even had it in the beta for some reason of Shut Your Mouth. But yeah, I think it was around this time he had like his feud with Evolution after being, you know, facing them off against them at Survivor Series. I think he was on like Chris Benoit and, you know, Randy Orton's team and stuff like that. But I think once again, since he was released, you know, he ended up not being in the game and whatnot. Which, I mean, it's too bad. Like you said, he was just getting a hang of things, and he wasn't really in too big of a storyline involvement. He was with my man Simon Dean as like his proof of his Simon system working and stuff like that. And I thought they were pretty entertaining together. So it's just too bad that he was let go, seemingly so abruptly too, from the sounds of it. But moving on from Maven and Kenzo Suzuki and Luther Reigns and stuff, apparently Victoria has leftover data in this game. But I don't know. I mean, she ended up being in I know the original Day of Reckoning, but I forget if she was in Day of Reckoning 2. Somebody will have to fact check me on that, because the divas in these games, nobody actually keeps track of this stuff. Stephanie McMahon was apparently supposed to be in this game. Although that might be like, because like they have the Hex, you know, character slot data left over for like important characters, I believe, in these games. So like The Rock, he wasn't in SmackDown vs. Raw 2009, but since the beginning of the series, he was always like the first character you're ever going to see in that like actual like character order ID. You know, for all the character data, you know, and stuff like that. So like he's not, you're like, oh, his status erased in SmackDown vs. Raw 2009, but like his Hex, you know, data still exists. I don't know too much about that stuff, if I'm being honest. But like I know, like for example, like I think Stone Cold, I don't know the exact order, but like Stone Cold might be number 2 usually for the most part, because you know, obviously he was the second biggest star at the time. Or you know, Triple H, I'm sure he always has the same like order on the internal ID of the character select roster than in all these games since he's in all of them and stuff like that. And I'm sure maybe they updated it after like, you know, a certain, you know, amount of time, maybe like in the WWE 12 or something like that. But I'll be honest, like I probably am not explaining it very well, but I also don't know how to explain the Hex, you know, the Hex data or whatever, because I don't really know much about it myself. I just know it's like, okay, Rock, he's character number 1. You know, Stone Cold, he's character number 2, you know, so on and so forth. And, you know, then they can use that same character data from Shut Your Mouth, so that way they can just pour it over and, you know, and SmackDown versus Here Comes the Pain. You know, Stone Cold's still character number 2 and The Rock's character number 1. You get the hopefully I explained it well enough. So that's kind of my assumption for Stephanie McMahon, since she was kind of always in these games for the longest time. I don't think she was in SmackDown vs. Raw either, though, the original. But now we have Masked Kane, which is interesting, because apparently this was based off of the original Legend incarnation from WWE Smackdown vs. Raw, and apparently has different attributes to the modern Kane present in the game, but an identical moveset. But I mean, obviously, you know, I mentioned like a million times in this game, Masked Kane is regular Kane's outfit. So, I mean, when you think about it, like I think that Masked Kane and the old Undertaker from Here Come the Pain, and then Masked Kane and old Undertaker from you know, the original SmackDown vs. Raw, they were the original, like, retro characters, you know, and they were there. It was cool because, you know, yeah, I think Mass Kane was just ridiculous. Like, he should have always been a costume, in my opinion. But the old Undertaker, you get it because that was during the biker era of Taker, so it made sense, you know. The Undertaker would have, you know, like the Tombstone Pile Driver and stuff like that, of course. And I can't remember in the original SmackDown vs. Raw if like Kane had the Tombstone Pile Driver, the mask variation, because if it did, it would make sense. You know, you're actually capturing a different character in time, but for the most part, like, I understand that change, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it's cool when you have the retro version of characters, but at the same time, like, I always thought costumes were usually good enough for the most part. But, like, you know, I guess there could be some differences. Like, they definitely got way too crazy with it in the 2K series. Like, WWE 13, like, okay, I thought it was ridiculous. They had, you know, Triple H from when he started in DX, and then Triple H, you know, 1999 DX. Like, really, you couldn't have just had him as a different outfit? Even if it's like slightly different moves, like, who the hell? Most people aren't really noticing that kind of stuff. Although that said, I do love it when they've had Cactus Jack and Dude Love as separate characters myself. Which, you know, theoretically, once again, they don't need to do that, but I don't know, different attributes or something like that, I guess. But yeah, they eventually got really crazy and stupid with it. Like, you know, whenever they have whoever's the focus of the 2K story mode, right? Like Stone Cold in 2K16, like they had to give him 5 different Stone Colds. I mean, come on, like I could get like ECW Stone Cold and you know, Stunning Steve Austin, right? And then you have regular Stone Cold from the WWE. But I mean, did you really? What the hell is the difference between, you know, Stone Cold in 2001 and then Stone Cold 2003? Like, are you kidding me? I could even understand, like, you know, early 97 Stone Cold and 96, you know, the ringmaster outfit and stuff like that. Because Stone Cold, obviously, he wrestled different when he first came into the WWE. You know, he was more of a technical wrestler and stuff like that. I mean, come on. You know, that Stone Cold 99 to 01, Stone Cold 2003, Stone Cold. That I don't know what time period it was based off of. I can't remember, but I think they just had regular Stone Cold and like, oh wait, you know, this Stone Cold, you know, and they had to like give him all sorts of different like stupid taunt variations that he's never had in any other games because, you know, they didn't want to spam him with the same taunts and stuff, and they would change the moveset ever so slightly. And dude, like, what are you doing? And then, that was the last one I played for the while. And then, like, SmackDown versus, not SmackDown versus Raw, but WWE 2K22. I remember, Rey Mysterio had the showcase. And I shit you not, they had Rey Mysterio 2009. And then they had Rey Mysterio December of 2009. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Are you serious? Like, they were dragging that crap. And that's not it. They had like 2006 Rey Mysterio, 2002 to 2005 Rey Mysterio. They had I think they had the modern day. And once again, like if it's like a modern day one and like one from an old time that actually has a lot of moveset differences and stuff like that, okay, fair enough. But I mean, for goodness sakes, Rey Mysterio 2009 and Rey Mysterio December 2009. No other like month. December 2009. That shit is ridiculous. I don't know if they've done anything like that before or since, but I mean I could not believe what I seen when I seen that. I'm speechless. That's kind of a big part of why I don't like the modern 2K games, because like they just have goofy, stupid stuff like that. But that's a very minor issue, in my opinion, when it comes to the 2K games and whatnot. But let's continue on with our list. Then we have the British Bulldog, which, I don't know, it's kind of weird. Apparently, so British Bulldog was supposed to be in the original SmackDown vs. Raw, but in the original SmackDown vs. Raw, he was pretty much complete, like ready to go, no issues or anything like that, except for the fact they didn't have the license for him. So I guess for some reason in this game, there's a second model of him inside the beta of the game that, you know, apparently it's like that character from the original SmackDown vs. Raw, and they updated him in this one, and for some reason they had to be two separate models. That one I don't quite understand, if I'm being honest. Then we have both of the Road Warriors, and yeah, it's kind of sad. I mean, there's why these guys had to be removed, because I mean, it's obviously like it's just leftover data from the original SmackDown vs. Raw, but I feel like it was, I think that was like the last time they were, oh wait, no, there's WWE 13, so never mind, I'm just an idiot, but it's too bad that, you know, those guys had to be, you know, taken out, because I wish there was just a way to where, like, I didn't like around this time, which they would add legends, but then they would remove legends the next year, and sometimes it made sense, licensing issues, but then other times it's like, you know, the Road Warriors, you're telling me you couldn't do anything with the Road Warriors? Roddy Piper, who I think actually comes back in SmackDown vs. Raw 2007. He used to be a constant, I remember, in these, as a legend in these old games. So it's really sad that he, it seems like for the longest time, I don't even know if he's in the modern WWE games, because it felt like once they got guys, like a whole of guys like Ultimate Warrior and Macho Man, and they finally got the rights to use them in these games, it felt like, you know, Roddy Piper was not used as much, and maybe that's something he had an issue with the company, and that's why they couldn't use his likeness, because he was supposed to be in WWE 2K14, and they even have his face model, something you could use in the Create a Wrestler mode, like fully there and stuff like that, and he's just not in the game. Like, come on, what? That doesn't make any sense, at least in my opinion. But I mean, we're talking about SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 here, not 2K14. Then we have Mr. America. So I think it would have been awesome. Apparently, Hulk Hogan just didn't like the Mr. America character, which, I mean, I can get it. I mean, it was kind of a dumb character. I mean, it was pretty entertaining, though, I'm not going to lie. And led to some great segments with Vince McMahon. But I think it would have been awesome because, like, how they had the 4 faces of Mick Foley in the next game. It would have been cool if they had the 4 faces of Hulk Hogan in this one. It would have been cool if they had, like, the giant machine variation of him, too. But, you know, apparently it says it was, you know, the story goes is that he was removed at the request of Hulk Hogan. And I guess, you know, yeah, he's pretty much almost complete. I mean, I don't think he had a model, but, like, pretty much almost everything was complete with about him. Otherwise, you know, the announcer call, animation, and, you know, stuff like that. I don't know how, apparently according to the Cutting Room 4, they say the reason they think Roddy Piper was removed was because they also had to remove, you know, Mr. America, and he was involved in that storyline. And that just kind of doesn't really make much sense to me, but I don't know. And apparently, there's also another entry for the Warrior, and that said, I mean, like, I don't know what the deal is. Like, the game's always had a weird relationship with the Ultimate Warrior, in my opinion, because, like, it feels like somebody that a lot of fans have a lot of love for, but you would think as, like, Japanese wrestling fan developers and stuff like that, they'd kind of be like a, you know, someone that they wouldn't like and stuff like that. I'm just kind of spitballing for the most part, but, or maybe, I don't know, is Yuke's Japanese based? I can't remember. Either way, so the point is like, even in the No Mercy, and you can even see in the beta, they had the face paint that you could get for the Ultimate Warrior. And then they had to change it up a little bit. It's still in the final game, but it's not like 1-to-1 with the Ultimate Warrior's face paint. Same with the Road Warrior's face paint in that game. But like, here comes the Pain. They were going to have him in the game. It's like, why the hell would you put stuff relating to the Ultimate Warrior in the game if he's just without even really asking, because it sounds like when they did ask him about him ever appearing in these types of games or WWE media, and they were going to include him and stuff, he's always just like, no, fuck you guys, I don't want anything to do with you, you know, you got to pay me this or that. It's like, okay, like, why put the work in for that kind of stuff, you know? And why, like, for example, why would the Ultimate Warrior and anything relating to him be in this game right here? Like, maybe it's like a Brock Lesnar case in which, you know, he was in talks at one point and they thought, yeah, you know what? You know, maybe something like this could happen. Let's, you know, start putting him in the game just in case. And then things fell through. But I don't know. Apparently, though, according to this, he has the unused character slot that he has would have had an extremely high overall of 109, which the maximum in these games are 99. And apparently the slot is also labeled as oh, actually no, I mixed that up. So there is a separate Warrior slot, and then there's a slot that used to be belonging to Jeff Hardy. Like I said, you know, Jeff Hardy had his specific character slot, and that's, you know, probably what they left it over with. And, you know, they would use, I guess, these character slots, the hex data, for, you know, different things or whatnot. So apparently the Jeff Hardy slot, they renamed it Waza de Joe. No, but I don't think anybody knows what the hell that means or why it was called that or anything like that. And apparently he had a rating of 109.
Look, Cole, this ain't ballet. You gotta go in there every single match and be willing to do whatever it takes.
And I don't know, I don't really know how this works, but apparently they would use these hexagonal, these like hex character ID slots for like AI data and stuff like that. I don't really know how that works. Like I said, I'm not really a developer in this stuff. I'm not even going to pretend I am. I'm essentially just reading the stuff that I see on the cutting room floor and whatnot. Once again, you know, he also, the Young Boy 11 for the 50th time. Check out his bait exploration. He probably knows this stuff more than me. And then, of course, there's also like staff characters that, you know, appear in cutscenes and, you know, extra stuff, like stupid stuff like that. Apparently, they actually have like character selection screen images as well, like renders and stuff like that. So, like Taz, Vince McMahon, Jerry Lawler, and they all have their own unique movesets. So, like, I'm assuming the idea was, you know, obviously they were left over. They probably had leftover move data from like early SmackDown titles and stuff like that. Like Jerry Lawler, you can't play as him, but, you know, like for a storyline in Here Comes the Pain, he can be your tag team partner in an actual match. And his character model looks absolutely terrible, and for some reason they don't actually have, like, it's just a generic outfit. Like, he has like the trunks, but he doesn't have the crowns on it. He doesn't have like a sash that goes over his shoulder. He just has no shirt for some reason. It's kind of unflattering to look at, if I'm being honest. Vince McMahon, I think his last appearance at this time was also Here Comes the Pain, and I don't know. I mean, I think it's because he wasn't really involved on screen as much as far as actual wrestling matches. I think he kind of took a break from it at this time, and I think he came back with the matches, like when he feuded with Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 22, and I think he was in the games again in starting next year, 2007. Taz, on the other hand, you know, obviously he was in the early SmackDown titles. I think he was in Shut Your Mouth, but I can't remember. I know he was definitely in Just Bring It, so that's probably what they kind of, you know, were basing the data off of. Obviously, he was involved in cutscenes, and, you know, Here Comes the Pain. If you're on the SmackDown brand, he's like the guy that asks you if you want to do the European tour and stuff like that, or, you know, form a stable or something like that. So I'm sure they still had all his move data and his announcing attire and stuff like that. And then, you know, he would even be a playable character in 2007 as well. Him and Jerry Lawler, actually, they both would be, you know, brought back to the series. But they all have unique attributes and movesets, so that sounds pretty cool. And I do know for a fact, in this game, I'm pretty sure you can even play as him. In GM mode, at the end of the year, there's like one big WrestleMania match where it's like one of your guys versus, you know, another guy on the other brand, right? and then the guest referee for that match is Vince McMahon. And I think if you like play the match, you can actually play as a special referee, Vince McMahon, and I'm sure you could see all of his moves and stuff like that he has in the game as well, and stuff like that. And it's not, I think it's like him in a suit or something like that. So it's probably like just the same cutscene, model that we seen earlier in like season mode, where he's like talking with the coach about the Royal Rumble or something like that.
I don't think there's anything Edge wouldn't do to get what he wants, and that's what I like about this guy. That's funny, because that's exactly.
Apparently, there's also an unused cutscene audio. So Shawn Michaels performing the final scene of the Legend Tour storyline. However, apparently, well, this doesn't make any sense. So apparently, I could believe that Shawn Michaels is not playable in the Legends Tour mode, because I think Legends Tour, like, they did it in SmackDown vs. Raw 2007 as well. So, like, obviously, since there's specific characters in this game relating to the storyline. So, for example, if I wanted to play as Eugene, right? If he can, I'm not sure if he would. It'd be kind of weird, like, hearing him be like the normal character, like, walking around asking people, like, "Hey, man, did you run over Teddy Long?" It just doesn't make sense to me. Like, obviously you'd be on Raw, but you get the point I'm making, right? Like, so if you were playing as William Regal or something in that storyline, like, I think it would just be the Legends Tour, right? Because that's like okay, this guy's in this, included in this story, so we have to give him a different storyline. I think that's that type of deal. Then again, maybe not, because I can't remember how it works exactly. But I'm pretty sure that's how it works in this game. Like, I think John Cena might be, you play as him in the Legends Tour thing. And this, on the cutting room floor, says that Shawn Michaels is someone you face in the Legends Tour. I do not believe that to be true. I think it's all characters who are actually labeled Legends. So I don't know why they don't have Shawn Michaels, even though they have the audio of the cutscene data and stuff like that, why he's not playable. Then there's also just some stuff about the PSP version on here. So the PSP version has 3 arcade games. So there's Texas Hold'em, which never played that in my life, but it sounds like it's just like the actual card game from what I've seen in reviews. The Eugene Airplane Race. That's just one of the weirdest games I think I've ever seen in a game. It's where you just literally have to like control Eugene and balance him out as he's running down the ramp and stuff like that, and you have to run down the ramp, run around the ring, and run back up the ramp. And it's about doing it as fast as you can, and it's as stupid as it sounds. I'm not gonna lie to you. And it's also a WWE game show thing, so trivia of questions related to WWE things that appear in the game. That sounds like it would actually be pretty awesome at the time. Obviously, I'm sure if you played it now, it'd be a little dated. Also, they did have Jake Roberts. That's the only way you could play as Jake Roberts, is you had to have the PSP version, buy him in the shop zone in that game, and then transfer your PSP data over to the PS2 data in this game. And, he's not included in the Legends mode and all this other stuff. And that's such a horse shit thing you have to do. Like, really, dude, you're going to lock a dude behind a version of a game. Like, it's not even like, oh, buy this other game on the PS2. It's buy this console and then buy this thing here. Like, when Nintendo did it, it's usually like, oh, here's an extra way to play. You can play with your friends on the GameCube and, stuff like that. And they had some bullshit things that they did with that as well. But with their handhelds and like the GameCube or the N64 and the Game Boy and stuff like that. But I don't know. I just always hated when like they lock stuff like this. I think I talked about it in my freaking Crash playthrough, Crash Tag Team Racing playthrough. So yeah, the only way to unlock them is by the PSP version and data convert and stuff like that. So so pretty much most people didn't actually get to play as Jake the Snake Roberts in these games. And it never made sense to me, too, because he never really appeared in the SmackDown vs. Raw series again for a while. I think it wasn't until SmackDown vs. Raw 2011. So, I don't know. I think he might have even been in the Legends of WrestleMania, which I have not played. So, people say that it was not a good game in the slightest. I say a lot of games that I played, a lot of people that don't like I love Warzone and Attitude. They're not my favorites, but I have a lot of fun playing those. when I'm in the mood for them. So I don't know. Maybe when I play that game for this channel or whatever, who knows? Maybe I'll actually say, no, you guys are all wrong. There's some fun to be had here, but we'll see.
I don't like where this is going, and neither does his opponent.
But yeah, that's pretty much all there is now that I see here. There's not really anything else to add. That's pretty much the interesting part of the beta content in this game was all the cut characters that were had leftover data on the roster. Most of them don't even have models. I'm not gonna lie to you. So there's no hidden Brock Lesnar model to my knowledge or anything like that, or a hidden Ultimate Warrior or Mr. America or anything like that. It's just I think only Luther Reigns and Maven are the ones that actually have the models that you can, reactivate and then play through. Jesus Christ, this ref needs to get the fuck out of my way. The one thing that I think is awesome about this game, though, I'm not going to lie, so in Here Comes the Pain, I think they did it because of that. There's the thing where in the first blood match, I think the referees, they automatically, if you try and target them, they'll just reverse every single move that you try against them, especially if it's a grapple. So I think that, and because of that, if you try and hit him with a power bomb in a first blood match and your head is red, then it'll, he'll make you bleed because you reversed it. And if you reverse that particular powerbomb move, you'll bleed or whatever. And then the referee, Earl Hebner, will literally, I think it's Earl Hebner, he'll actually win the match itself. The referee will literally hold up the arm of the referee at the end of the match. And it's pretty hilarious. And so I think, I'm assuming they did it in SmackDown vs. Raw, but I know this game for sure because I was just kicking his ass. I do love how you can essentially, you and your friend can just jump the shit out of the referee and he's not going to do anything about it. So it is funny in that sense, but it's also a massive pain in the ass when they get in the way. I think in Here Comes the Pain, it was actually worse with him getting in the way. But, man, it took him a long time before, they figured out, hey, people don't like the referee getting in the way. And then, once again, like I mentioned earlier, he'll do that stupid thing where he'll just get right in your face again when you're trying to, not hit him. I gotta say, though, there's a lot of interactivity, but there's also a lot of things in here you think you could interact with that you can't for some reason, and it's kind of annoying. And like I said, I prefer Here Comes the Pain's method where it's actually you can connect to the areas and face off and whenever you want. And they had so much, there was interactivity with everything in those environments. Whether it be weapons or throwing them into something and getting more weapons or, whatever the case. Alright, now this one I do think is a pretty interesting challenge as well. I like it when they get pretty creative with the challenges, right? Because, a lot of these ones that you've seen me play, of course, the early ones especially are, I think the first one was, SummerSlam rematch. Or maybe not. I know it was based, the arena SummerSlam that the Failure Fantasy match is based off of. I just can't remember, who actually fought in that match or whatever. It may have even been, 4 or 5 divas. I don't actually intend on watching it or looking it up, if I'm being honest. But, we've had the WrestleMania rematches, the SummerSlam rematch, and all this other stuff. But this one I actually kind of like a little bit because, it's a little creative. And I like it when they actually have, a variety of wrestlers in these things instead of just, the same guys. And yes, we have fought Cena, we have fought Orton, and we have played as Hulk Hogan in the SummerSlam rematch, but we at least get to play with Ric Flair this time. Thanks, Rick. You're really helping me out here, pal. Oh, right, he's in this freaking 5-knuckle shuffle animation. But yeah, it's pretty much the old guard versus the future of the WWE at this time, anyway. Ric Flair was still pretty phenomenal at this time, I'd have to say. He still knew how to put on a good performance, that's for sure. Nowadays, he's, yelling at freaking managers at pizza restaurants and trying to pay waitresses, I think it was either $100 or $1,000 to call her boss a jackass or something like that. Yeah, he's. I feel bad for him in a degree because I mean I think he's like his star is past. Like let's be honest, like he's still big and famous, and I'll always respect Ric Flair, hands down. I mean he's if he is not in your top 5 greatest wrestlers of all time, like not favorites, but like the greatest of all time, then I mean I don't know, you're probably out of your mind. He's probably a guy that should be on the majority of the Mount Rushmores of wrestling. I guess you could make an argument maybe top 10, but that's like at the absolute limit of like whether or not you're including Flair on there. A lot of people I've talked with people though, like I've asked like, hey, who do you think the top 10 are, and like or top 10 or top 20 or whatever. Like I remember I was talking to somebody and he said that Mankind is probably not even in the top 50 greatest wrestlers of all time because he was a spot monkey and stuff. I'm like, but he also likes I think he also likes Jeff Hardy. I think he also likes Dean Ambrose and all that sort of stuff, or John Moxley at this point and stuff like that. And so you're telling me the guy who has probably the most famous wrestling match in the history of the entire sport with that Hell in a Cell is not even apparently in the greatest the top 50. Like that's the thing. Like some people will say like things that are just kind of stupid like that because like they don't like them or they don't think it is. And it's not like, no, I'm not saying what your favorites are. I'm saying objective lists. This or that. Like, well, no, see, he's not as good as a wrestler as I thought it was. First off, Mick Foley is a pretty phenomenal wrestler. Yes, his most famous moments are hardcore stuff, but you can't also undercut his his personality as well. I mean, he literally got 4 people over, and you're telling me Mick Foley is not one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, and like at least the top 20 or 30. I'd say probably top 30 around that era. But I mean, maybe you can make the argument The Undertaker. I would argue Mick Foley is the number 3 of like the Attitude Era. Either him or Triple H, because Triple H was kind of like other than Vince, he was like the heel of the Attitude Era. But I don't know. But like that's what I mean. Some people are like, oh well, no, I like this guy better. And like I've talked to him, and like he likes the modern wrestling with the athleticism and stuff like that, and all that stuff more than characters, and that's fine. But this is also the same person that said that Stone Cold is nowhere, not even in the top 5 greatest wrestlers of all time. And it's like, are you kidding me? The highest drawing wrestler of all time, the highest drawing wrestler of all time is not in the top 5 greatest wrestlers of all time, right? I don't know. So some people, I think they don't understand, like for example, there's a lot of mid-cutters I love just because I think they're funny, like I mentioned earlier in this video. That said, I'm never going to put Simon Dean anywhere in like a top thing. King's my favorite wrestler. He's not, I'm not going to put him on like a top 10 like greatest of all time, top 20, top 30 or anything like that, because I know I can look at wrestling history itself and analyze it and stuff like that. And I'm not going to say I'm like, oh yeah, I know the business in and out, and you're an idiot if you think this guy's not the greatest or whatever, but like there's a clear distinction of when you're having your opinion overlap something rather than being analytical about it. And I think he said that both Hulk Hogan and Stone Cold are not in the top 5 greatest of all time. Despite your feelings on Hulk Hogan, I think Hulk Hogan, for the majority of people, like casual wrestling fans, he is pretty much like Mr. Pro Wrestling. And you can make the argument, maybe The Rock, maybe Stone Cold. I'd even accept it. Hulk Hogan. Yeah, Hulk Hogan's better than Hulk Hogan. Ric Flair, Bret Hart, even, Shawn Michaels, Undertaker. You can say that. I would argue. I wouldn't necessarily disagree with you entirely if, like you said, like those guys were better wrestlers. But at the same time, like Hulk Hogan, he knew how wrestling was, especially back in the day. And for people who say, oh well, he wouldn't last today. Maybe. Maybe, but I think there's a lot of people that win the last today. I would not see Stone Cold as a main eventer today. Not because he doesn't deserve it, and not because he doesn't have the personality or the wrestling skills or the psychology. And this might be an extremely hot take, as I say, but because like the business is just so different now in the sense of like, yeah, it's all these like big. I don't want to sound so insulting towards it, but you know, like stunt kind of stuff. They call it stunt wrestling, where you know it's less about psychology and more about doing the moves. Yeah, like I could see Stone Cold necessarily getting lost in the shuffle or management not seeing it, especially in today's environment with the PG stuff. You know, you couldn't let Stone Cold flip people off like that all the time. And it's no slight against its skill set either. I'm just saying, like, I think that I think the WWE has made it. Maybe it might be different now with Triple H in charge, but I haven't really watched too much of modern wrestling. But I will say this, especially for the longest time, the WWE made it very difficult. Even if you're popular and you're over, it's pretty much like, oh, well, no, we're the machine. So we're the ones who are saying whether or not you're going to get a push and all that sort of stuff. And I think they screwed a lot of careers over that could have been potential main eventers, that never became one. You know, he's not my favorite, but I do have to admit, a lot of people like Dolph Ziggler. A lot of people, you know, he could have been a main eventer. He was that popular. And I think he kind of held his own in some main event feuds, you know, when he was with AJ Lee and, you know, feuding with John Cena and, you know, stuff like that. He is a phenomenal wrestler. I'll give him that in regard, even if he's not my, you know, favorite kind of guy, as we'll say. You know, he's not one of my personal favorites. But I think I was talking about Ric Flair and his fading light and stuff like that. But yeah, you know, I do feel bad for Ric Flair in that sense, you know, to get back on that topic, because I think I trailed off all the way to this. It is sad to see because he's kind of delusional in a few ways. Not in the sense of like, oh, he's better than he is, but like he's kind of like gotten the same status as Hogan, in which he'll just like make up things despite having probably, if not the most interesting, but one of the most interesting careers and most interesting life of a professional wrestler. He still feels the need to lie about some weird stuff, like how many women he slept with. Like, I think he said like I can't remember the exact number, but it was so high that like even like rock stars and everybody else came out like dudes and said like, dude, if you slept with that many women, you'd have to like sleep with like 5 women every day for like, you know, 10 years straight or something crazy like that, like 20 years straight. Like, there's no way you slept with that many women. And there's other things that he's lied about. Or maybe it's just misremembering. That's what I mean. Like, I wouldn't say he has, like, dementias or anything like that. Like, I don't know. I don't think so. And I'm not really a doctor to diagnose something like that. But that said, it does seem like, you know, I think he's a good example of wrestlers who have kind of faded from the limelight a little bit. And he doesn't have the ability to safely wrestle still. He said he pretty much hopes he dies in the ring, and that's how he would want to go. And I think that kind of speaks to his character. Exactly what I'm trying to explain, like, right now is, you know, he really is all about, he has to be, I guess, the big cheese. He's got to be the guy, the center and the attention in the room, you know, and I think that because he can't be that like guy on TV and be the man and whatnot, as he says, I think he's had a very difficult time moving on from that. And I think that, you know, it sounds like his drinking is getting out of control. And obviously he had a very rough life. And he had a very terrible life. In particular, I feel bad for him, you know, with what happened with his son Reed. I mean, that's terrible. I genuinely feel bad for him. But then again, he was also on that podcast in which I think it was something like somebody made a joke about like the coach of Ric Flair. No, somebody made like a joke about it, like a wrestling coach. And Ric Flair said, oh, you know, I can't ever make fun of a, you know, wrestling coach because he, you know, a wrestling coach was good to my son or something of that lines. I don't know. It was a while ago. But either way, the podcast was a joke podcast, right? They were there to crack jokes, drink beers, and they paid them for it and stuff like that too. And all that ended up happening is because Ric Flair, you know, and I feel bad for him, I do, but it was kind of inappropriate to, he brought that up, and it was very awkward, and I don't think they handled it the best way either. They should have, you know, kind of just moved right on, rather than kind of make a joke about it or anything like that. So I don't think either one really handled it. Are you fucking kidding me, Ric Flair? You lost all my sympathy. But in all jokes and all jokes aside, though, yeah, I don't think either one handled it in that case. And a lot of people say, "Oh, yeah, you're not picking a side. You know, you can't ever pick a side." I think it's important, like, to see both perspectives, and that's kind of what I saw. Sometimes it is just black and white. You know, one person was in the wrong. But in this case, you know, I think it was kind of both, and I think it just kind of made the poor podcast guys look terrible in comparison because of it. And wow, that's actually a sick tag team special move. And I don't know, man. I mean, it's just like that's the kind of stuff that seems normal for Ric Flair now. You know, it seems I can understand. You know, like I have not experienced loss. I've been so fortunate in life to not experience any form of any serious loss in my life at this point. And I'm 25. That's a pretty big deal. So, but like, you know, I know the effect of loss on, you know, family members, you know, so, you know, who have lost, you know, kids and brothers and stuff like that. And I can tell from them, you know, they can live life, but the pain never goes away and whatnot. So when it comes to Ric Flair and his relationship with his son, because I mean, losing a son is even, it's much different, I feel like, from what I've been told in comparison to a brother or sister or a friend or something like that, especially a parent, right? That's kind of the main thing, not the brother and sister thing, but the parent. You know, a parent losing their child is probably got to be, from what I hear and can understand from, you know, people who have experienced that, it's like the worst feeling you could ever experience in your entire life. No parent wants to outlive their kid, of course. And the way that Reed went is very tragic in the sense that he had to take his, you know, he felt like he had to go out that way. I can't really say why for YouTube reasons. Plus, I don't want to bum people out too much, even though I've been talking about this for a while. But the point I'm trying to say is I understand his position, but it seems like he's kind of at a point in his mess where he's at a point in his life where he probably should be just like away from anything public at all. That's ridiculous. How did he kick out of that? And I think he's unwilling to step away from that kind of thing because, you know, even when it was, I think the reason Jim Ross got fired like 10 years ago was because I think it was like just a fresh wound. You know, I think that's when Ric Flair's son had just passed. And Ric Flair kind of went on and started talking about his son instead of like promoting a game or whatever. He shouldn't have been there. It sounds like he was drinking. And I think Jim Ross was... Alright, that was funny. Jim Ross, you know, was pretty much fired because they said that, you know, he didn't... things didn't go well and he didn't control Ric Flair. It's like, when you know, people need to be kind of held to their own actions, you know, and at that time, once again, you know, it was fresh, so I can understand. Are you holy shit, dude, what the fuck is with this leg drop? Why do they keep getting up so fast? Yeah, this is actually kind of bullshit, I'm not gonna lie, this is starting to kind of piss me off. This match should have ended, like, literally 10 minutes ago, guys. So I do apologize on that end. So I might have to steal a finisher again. And, oh, no. But yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think? I mean, I've kind of talked about Ric Flair and my thoughts on him. And I think, you know, in the past, I've kind of been a little more harsh on him, if I'm being honest. Okay, come on. Rick! Come on, please. God damn it, Ric Flair, you idiot!
There's the pin. Can his opponent kick out?
Yeah, see, this is why I hate tag team matches. Your AI partner is stupid as hell. But then again, if I'm pinning them, they're right on it. They're on it like white on fucking rice. But yeah, like I said, I think that I've been a lot more harsh. I've been very harsh on Flair in the past. But I don't know. I can kind of come to. Once again, I can understand it a little bit. But we'll move on from that because it is kind of a depressing topic when you realize it. But before I do move on, I do want to ask, just for the fun of it, who do you guys think is kind of becoming? Who do you think is ruining their legacy a little bit more as time goes on? Who do you think is the worst liar, the fabricator, I guess, should be the real question here. Think it's Ric Flair, or do you think it's Hulk Hogan? I don't know. The only way I think I can win this match is if Ric Flair actually fucking does something and actually starts kicking ass. And then I hold off, the opponent. But also, I mean, now Orton is fucking fresh, of course. So I guess I have to take care of business. And he's got a finisher, so thank you for leaving that to me, Flair.
Let me tell you, Cole, I spoke to these superstars before the match.
I'm going to be, I don't know, I kind of wish Count Out was on, because if it was, I would I would honestly kind of bullshit my way through this. I'm not even going to lie to you guys. I probably would have done that Count Out win almost like 15 minutes ago. I don't know what it is. I cannot. Tag team matches in this game are just so much worse than I remember. I don't even remember them being this bad, and here comes the pain. Still an awesome tag team maneuver. Come on, Flair, do something. That's probably a good thing they got the tag. I'll have to wonder why they have like a Smackdown of all things as the arena.
Oh man, there's the tag.
But I do got a question for you guys once again. I mean, what's your favorite era of John Cena? Because I think they're definitely, unlike a few people, I think that John Cena does have a few evolutions. But like he had his original, I guess you could call it Ruthless Aggression era thing. Then you had the Thugonomics, Doctor of Thugonomics. Then you had the weird mix of like, Doctor of Thugonomics Cena in this, but it was also like the beginning of that Goody Two Shoes John Cena as well. And he kind of, I don't know, he always had like a weird affiliation with the military around this time. Like he was kind of like, I don't know, like he was supported the military and he had like the dog tags and stuff like that. And that was pretty cool and stuff, but I don't know, it was just kind of like a weird thing. Like it was almost like the camo became like a part of his like identity. And then you had, PG era, we'll call him Fruity Pebble John Cena, who was like the ultimate Goody Two Shoes and all that sort of stuff. And then eventually he kind of got that, in 2015 it was like, I don't know, he was very similar character-wise, all the same. So yeah, I wouldn't actually say that's an evolution. I mean, they started having good matches with like NXT guys or indie guys, I guess we'll say. What the fuck are you? All right, thank God, Ric Flair. What the hell was that, dude? He literally almost let Cena break that up again. But I don't know. I mean, I think John Cena was definitely someone we didn't appreciate at the time. Because obviously he had his big fans, and people say the women and the children, they love John Cena, but all the men hated him. Maybe it was a jealousy thing. Maybe it was something just... He was obviously not exactly what everybody wanted at the time, and it is hard to be a universally beloved character. Especially, I think it was around... When the internet came to be, I feel like that is when, like, the... most things... there are definitely some things that are universally beloved. Like, obviously, there's always been people who don't like some things. Like, there were people who didn't like Stone Cold during the Attitude Era. I mean, I'm not joking. There's some people that like Lance Storm over Stone Cold, but I think I've already shared my experience with that. How like some guy like was pissed off on a video with Stone Cold chanting boring at Lance Storm, and like the guy just got mad, said, yeah, well, you know, he didn't do anything in the, you know, Stone Cold didn't do anything or draw a dime or whatever, and just said stupid stuff, like just trolling, and said, you know, the only reason he was a top guy during the Attitude Era is because he had Vince McMahon's steak in his mouth. It's like, it was broken English too and stuff like that, so it kind of makes me wonder, like, where do these people come from? You know what I'm saying? But I lost my train of thought now, because what was I? Oh yeah, the John Cena stuff. But he's definitely someone who I think is people in the last few years when he did leave, it's kind of like realized just how important he was, and now there kind of is that big gap missing. And I don't think it was just John Cena. I think a lot of people attribute that to it, but I think a big part that nobody also talks about is Triple H was also gone. The Undertaker wasn't full-time. Shawn Michaels wasn't full-time. What the how the hell did I trip? So it wasn't just Kurt Angle obviously wasn't there. You know, not even in TNA. So it wasn't just that John Cena left. He was kind of like, I think Randy Orton's like the last guy left in that era. Batista also left. So it was kind of like he was the last of his era that left, and I think that's why it stung the most, which it is good that people have, you know, started to appreciate him. I didn't appreciate him back in the day. I mean, this channel's name back in the day was literally, it's actually my Gmail account still. It's called, because I was an edgy teenager when I made this, WWE Cena Hater for Life. And quite ironic, right? We always think we know how we feel when we're, you know, figured it out when we're teens and stuff like that. I figured I would never like that guy, right? I think I even made a video of like why I didn't like John Cena, and it was just cringy as hell. Which, I mean, I'm probably, when this stuff is done, I'm probably going, if you want to check it out, I do have like a extremely old playthrough of like the Legend Store in this game. It's probably some of the most offensive content I've ever made, because it's just me trying to be as edgy as absolute possible. Once this stuff is done, I'm just going to delete it, because it's kind of, it's not only embarrassing in the sense of the stuff I said, also, like, it's just like I recorded my TV, because I didn't know how people did things at that time, you know, how they got their footage recorded, and emulation, or any of that sort of stuff. And, you know, it's just really poor quality. But I kept it on here just for like the sake of it, and that's kind of why I'm replaying it, to kind of finish the game I never finished at that time. But yeah, I mean, if you're interested in watching supreme cringe and maybe something that will legitimately might piss you off, depending on the context, you can check it out. Maybe, hopefully, you'll at least get a good laugh out of it. That's all I'll say.
Grab a weapon from under the ring and start swinging. He's laying waste to his opponent with that steel chair.
Alright, this should be the match ender. Oh, of course, the fucking chair is in my way.
Here it comes, look out. Oh,
Now this should be the end of the match.
Falling prey to that finishing maneuver. There's the cover. Can he do it? 2.
Alright. I kind of would have preferred to play as Edge, though, I'm not gonna lie. Plus, Christian without his logo just feels so incomplete, it's just kind of lame. Like, it looks like he's just... I wish I would have done a different color, at the very least, because it just looks so... That dark blue is so... I don't know. I can't really... It's just so unflattering to look at, essentially. But this is going to be our final match here. Once again, it's another rematch thing, and... I think it'd be cool if they had made, like, 15 rematch matches, right? But it's its own section. But, I mean, come on, like, all the... Like, it just... I feel like they could have had a lot more creative challenges. I think they have a few more... I think they have less of them in the next game, 2007. As far as, like... I almost shit my pants right there. As far as, you know, like, just rematch things or whatever, they actually kind of get a little creative with them. But, yeah, it's... At least these matches are fun. Plus, I mean, you know, who can you ever really complain about a, you know, an elimination chamber? It's even crazy to think this was like, well, I guess it was only 3 years ago at this point, but they still had all the original characters. And I think the craziness of the evolution of like how fast WWE evolves and moves. Look at all these guys and their gimmicks at the time and stuff like that, and their looks and their characters, and they're all kind of pretty different at the time. Like obviously Kane was still masked. Chris Jericho kind of still had. I think he was in the middle of like his heel run or something like that. Chris Jericho, I mean, I can't remember if I've said it or not. I always thought he was kind of overrated in a lot of sense. I loved Y2J Chris Jericho. But it just kind of bothers me that a lot of people always like talk about like just him and Cody Rhodes. Like they always talk about how innovative he is and how he can make, you know, even the simplest thing like the greatest thing of all time and stuff like that. And, if you're a fan of like those guys, I don't really blame you because there have been some good things over the years. But I mean, look at Cody Rhodes. I mean, he's literally the guy of the WWE at this point. But I mean, like, I don't know. I think some people are just silly with how far they've gone with it. Like the internet, like, you know, saying, "Oh my goodness, Cody Rhodes, the mustache gimmick." Like, no, it's not the mustache gimmick. Like, yeah, he talked about his mustache and how great it was, and he had a shirt with a mustache. That's not a character change. That's not anything. It's the same Cody Rhodes. He's just talking about how he has a mustache. It's not a freaking like innovative idea here. I would argue, you know, okay, undashing Cody Rhodes, right? That's an actual character change, right? I don't even really consider dashing Cody Rhodes to be that different than regular Cody Rhodes at the time before that, right? You know, I mean, it gave him a little something to grasp onto, a little bit of character, but, you know, I don't think his promos really changed all that much. It still felt like the same Cody Rhodes from all the years before. But that undashing Cody Rhodes, as stupid of a name as it is, you know, yeah, that's a different character. He's actually hamming it up. He has like that mask. He's putting those cardboard, the paper bags over people's head. He feels like he was wronged in society because that's a different character. But, you know, you wouldn't know that with the internet, you know, online internet community. They'd say, "Oh my god, innovative. I'm not a big fan of the internet wrestling community. I'm sure you may have already noticed that. And, you know, I'm not like an asshole. I don't hate them or anything like that, but I just have a lot of different opinions on that. And I think it's also become a lot more split as in recent times, just because I think there was a rise of channels that were like, "Hey, look, we don't like the internet wrestling community. We like Attitude Era Wrestling." And people who still kind of watch that stuff. I think it developed, you know, maybe like 10 years ago. Like there used to be like the Smart Busters. Is that I don't even think they're around anymore, but they didn't even really do much. They just kind of made like shitty jokes about like, you know, wrestling stuff or whatever, like how bad it was today. Now they kind of have that. I can't remember his name, but he's a pretty big thing. And nowadays, at the moment, not necessarily a big thing, but like I think he's like one of the bigger guys in the community. They're like, "Hey, look, this is poop. You know, we don't like modern wrestling or whatever, but the old wrestling was better," type deal. I think his name's like Devontae or something like that. I think maybe like Millennial Smart or something like that. I don't know. I haven't really kept up on that stuff in a while because I think they're kind of like a little too. Those kind of channels are a little too opinionated, which is kind of like they're just kind of assholes. It feels like. Which, you know, like I don't have any issue with saying like, yeah, this is terrible and stuff like that, but like I don't know, like I feel like they kind of just have like that added thing of like just kind of being jerks for like the sake of comedy or something like that, or it's just, I don't know. You know what? It's tough to explain. I guess it's just kind of like yeah, I can't really explain it other than I think they're just a little too jerky in their approach at times. Like they have like that oh well, my way's better, yours is not. But I mean at the same time there's like modern internet wrestling community people that like love AEW and they're kind of like assholes about it too. It's like WWE marks hate AEW and want to fail when it's great. I mean, there are people like that, but at the same time, there's also AEW people that are the same way with WWE. They're like, oh yeah, WWE sucks. You know, it's just like, you know, the tribalism. It's kind of like the console wars back when we were teenagers. It's just so lame. I mean, like, you know, have your opinions, but like, you know, just share your opinions. Don't be like, oh, well, my thing's all better than yours and that sort of stuff, you know. And oh yeah, you know, see, this group is a bunch of idiots. My group is way better than your guys'. It's because you have assholes. When in reality, you know, your group that you're bragging about and stuff like that also has assholes on their side. So that's my my view on it, I should say. But I don't know. Like I keep ranting, I keep forgetting where I started off on this stuff. But oh yeah, the freaking Cody Rhodes stuff. And so I pretty much explained all of my feelings on that. Like Stardust was also a character change for Cody Rhodes, obviously. And I thought it was okay. I mean, I think the original Goldust was better. But I mean, honestly, it was just kind of like, hey, Cody Rhodes is, you know, now he's weird.
Look at Shawn Michaels, the future Hall of Famer.
And I don't know. I mean, he's not my favorite, but once again, I got to give credit to him. I mean, he's the man in WWE now, and it's kind of interesting because now there's like this. Like I said, that with the internet, nobody is universally beloved. There's never going to be a universally beloved wrestler at this point. I don't care who it is. There's people who say Roman Reigns is terrible, but Cody's the man. There's people that say Cody is the man, but Roman Reigns is terrible and they suck and yada yada yada. And you see it all the time. So that's what I kind of mean in that sense, you know. I don't think there's ever going to be anybody who's universally beloved. Like Chris Jericho, for example, you know, he was the guy that like the internet wrestling community also let the talk about all the time and its evolution of his character. You know, you'd think like there'd be like lists of like ranking all 25 characters of Chris Jericho or something like that. It's like, dude, he had the WCW Chris Jericho, which when he pretty much came in WWE, it was pretty much as a, I guess, a slightly more adult version of like that character. Then he had Y2J, in which, you know, he feuded with Stephanie McMahon and Triple H and stuff like that, but it was still the same Y2J pretty much throughout the entire time, you know, 99 to 2005. Then he came back as pretty much as Y2J again, but then he had that character change where it was more serious, and I acknowledge that was a character change. You know, he's wearing the suits, he switched up his promo style, which I think is important to a character change, and you know, he had a new outlook as a heel. And then like he came back in 2012 and people said that was a character change. Like, yeah, he's not wearing the suits all the time, he has that glowing jacket, which I thought was pretty awesome. But no, it's still like the same guy essentially, man. Like, nothing's really changed. It's still the same outfits, really, the same hairstyle, the same pretty similar promos. Nothing's really spectacular about it. Which, I mean, if you didn't know already, it's pretty common knowledge, though, just in case I'll say it. Chris Jericho was actually, when he came back in 2012 at the Royal, he was actually supposed to win the Royal Rumble, but they gave it to Sheamus, I guess. Just because it was too predictable, apparently. Which I think that's kind of lame, but I like Sheamus, and, you know, I admit that was lame. A lame reasoning, anyway, I'll say that. And then, like, yeah, I mean, he kind of went back to his Y2J shtick. And that's kind of what I think of when I see him in AEW. I mean, it's not the same exact thing, but like, he still kind of sounds the same. You know, he has the long hair again. Yeah, he's saying he's a wizard, and it's like stupid stuff like that, but I mean, it just seems Y2J to me. I don't know. It sounds like people, when he came in, it sounds like a lot of people enjoyed what he was doing. Now it seems like it might not be the same. Admittedly, though, I only watch AEW through the clips on YouTube that they put up, not so much the actual TV product. I started watching that when it first came out. I was not a big fan. If you are, that's cool. I just was not a big AEW fan. That said, thank you so much for watching. If you actually did watch this all the way through, woo, you're a trooper, man. I gotta be honest with you. Hopefully you found some entertainment value in it, and if you have, you know, comment either Pepsi or Coke if you watched the whole video, just whichever one you like more. But with that said, you know, I'm gonna start Raw season mode next week. Don't know who it's gonna be yet, but tune in for that. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed. But above all else, please remember to have a nice day.